Hi, I'm Paul Griffiths and welcome to my YouTube channel. Come along and follow me on all sorts of meaningless, pointless adventures. You'll see how not to do things, you'll see how not to drive things, how not to fix things, and you'll probably see a lot of how to break things. You'll see things from farming to heavy construction to heavy vehicle repairs. You'll see electrical projects. You'll see all types of things, not limited to anything. So jump on board and come along for some adventure with, well, me. Have a bit of a laugh and maybe even learn something. Episode number 5. I didn't realise that the audio was such crap until I actually watched it on the big screen. It sounded fine on the laptop, so I apologise for that, and I don't know that I can do anything about it because I don't even know what I'm doing. And also it stopped short, even though it still plays back fully on the computer. But anyway, all beyond my control. So, in episode number 6, probably the conclusion to all this, we get to see it finally doing something, as in rolling, I suppose. We'll just see how we go with that, and we'll roll along and see what happens. We've got to hook up first, then we've got to head south slowly after I go north to see my son, all these other wonderful things. So after finally getting the trailer going, the realisation of the fact that I had to now tidy up this huge mess I created before I could even go anywhere was quite daunting, to say the least. I had stuff everywhere. I was so well spread out. And it all had to be packed up and stacked up and ready to go. And I couldn't put it back on the load loader because I was meant to go and pick up a load on that to tow home as well. Yesterday, we got the trailer out of the shed. Shelter thing, whatever we want to call it. We'll call it a shed. Finally, took it out, took it for a road trip. Quick little one around town and back again. Worked fine. Everything worked. The lights worked first time, all the brakes worked. Everything worked on it. A lot of work, but we got there. So now I've got to get from Capella. Now I pack up everything that's around here, and there's lots of it. I got it into the front of that trailer, all except for 4 tyres off that trailer, which will go onto that, which will sit on the low loader. So everything is pretty much here, except for my basic hand tools and chains, straps and things. All has to go into the cattle crate. The cattle crate then gets taken around. I'll hook it onto the dolly, make sure the airline's working properly out the back. That'll then get unhooked over the other side of the shed, which is over that way where the Mack's been parked. Then what's left will get put on the low loader, and that will be taken to. I'll hook that on the back. I've got to go down to Mackay, which is 3.5-4 hours away. Pick up some steel beams for a shed. Then from there I'll go and see my son at Air, which is another 3 hours away, and go from see him, say good day. It's only been a few months since I've seen him, but it'll be good to see him again. And from there I'll head to Townsville, see a man about a dog up there, and from there we'll go back to Charters Towers, which is back up on top of the mountain range. Got to pick up a McGrath axle up there, and from there I'll come back down, I'll hook up his road train, and then we'll launch it for Victoria. Lots to be done, short amount of time to do it in. Sounds vaguely familiar to my rest of my life. But we'll get there, we'll run way behind schedule, and I'll have fun doing it.
It's supposed to be my last day here at the yard. It'll almost be. Almost. Now, pretty much everything that was around here, wheels, brake drums, brake shoes, cylinders, tanks, parts, tools, everything else has been wheeled around here on a trolley, up through the end up there, up through the end up there, around, back down, up the blocks of float, up the blocks of wood onto the float and the trolley, across into the back of the trailer, and right up to the front where the grease plate end is, and putting those ICB pod things, whatever you want to call them. That's taken me all day. I'm exhausted because you can't stand up properly in there. So that's all done. Then it's sort of roughly hooked. It's not going to go anywhere, for goodness sakes, just to hold the lids on the cubes. I'll go and hook this on. I was hot as all get out. It was 37 or 38 or something and about 5 million % humidity. Everything's wringing wet. I've drunk all my water. I'm wrecked. So I'll hook the Mack on. I'll take this around, hook it onto the dolly, turn it around, unhook it, and then I'm going back to the motel for the night.
You know how sometimes, no matter how well you plan things, no matter how much preparation you do, it just doesn't work, and you're so tired, it's so hot, and it takes you quite a while to work out what's actually happening. This may have been just around the corner.
Problem. This ring won't fit in this old style ring feeder. We're going to need to take the grinder to this tomorrow before I head off. Okay, all the problems. Just so I didn't pack the tools everywhere in the wrong spot. So I'll pull it forward a bit, unhook it and go home. Bugger. So you need to take out. Oh, I'm trying. I can't get this bastard to go in. And finally I've worked it out. It's too big. I'll pull forward. Okay. We're here this morning. This is my dolly. Excuse that bit of grinding. Let's just wear a bit of a lipid worn on the bush. This is a 40mm pin that's very flogged out, and that's a 50mm pin on my dolly. If I sit this on top, you can see, if we get it in the right spot here, that there's quite a bit of size difference. So, set that up in here. We ground a bit out each side to fit the ring in. We had to grind some off the bottom of the pin. It still drops down fully in. It's a bit hard to explain, but it does. And because it's only 40mm, we found a bit of pipe here to make up a bush to take up a lot of the slack. Now, all this is pretty frowned upon, but I think it's better than the other alternative, which is nothing. So what we'll do is, hopefully, I'll put a bit of tape underneath, hold that in, and Bob's your uncle. Hopefully, just back it up, and we'll go clunk and lock and get the hell out of here. Or get this shifted anyway.
Straight out
We'll call that success.
and a little bit out of our minds.
Look at that, it's in, it's locked,
We were
it's got a
caught
bush.
in disaster.
It'll have some movement, but not a huge amount. What a huge amount of farnagling,
One for the show,
to put it politely. But we're on.
two for old Shorty and me.
So I better carry that piece of 1.5 pipe with me wherever I go from
We
now
were
on.
the wild ones.
I don't know whether I'm about to get the thing off, but I'll worry about that back
We
in the
had
rack.
the
Just got a
town
bit of tape
up
off.
the tree. We were the wild ones.
Looks better.
We went to pick up the steel beams and that all sort of went to crap. They were 18-inch RSJs and they were bent and had stuff welded all over them. So I ended up on left roads, kept on going to see the sun. I camped at the United Roadhouse, just south of Bowen. And the next day I drove up to take a day to the sun. On the way up there we broke the wheels in front of the Mack, I don't know why, the way it goes. So I rolled into Townsville the next day or so and
She was a lady.
went to the Mack dealer there to try to get one. I came across this looking Mack. Turns out it's a Mack with a haze cap on it. That's the way it was sold in Australia. Apparently it's one of the only ones ever done, so don't know much about it. But I spoke to the owner for quite some time. Then from there we went up into Charters Towers as we went to, grabbed that other axle, the McGrath axle, and headed back down towards Capella to pick up the truck. And so I rolled back into Capella on the 15th of March, which was day 22. And then this happened. Well,
I'm back in Capella after a few days of the road. We're going to pick up the trailers at the motel. It's raining. So as soon as it stops, it's been raining all night. The Mack out there getting wet. As soon as it stops, I'm going to go and grab that other trailer while I can and hit the road. So we're hooked up. We've had heaps of rain here last night. This is black soil. So the hard stand's very limited. So I could have come down and hooked up last night, but I thought that's where the trailer, the cattle trailer and Dolly was sitting. So I had to back the low loader in, back it around, join them to those two, pull them forward, work it over a fair few feet. Because normally I'd just pull up straight behind and back, but we're coupled up, we're hooked up, and we've got to put the road train signs up. Signs are now on. Hopefully it all goes okay. It just rained last night, so we'll have a look and see. I've got a whole lot of bags of clothes and things. I'll be a few weeks sitting in the back here. There's water everywhere. We'll see how it went. There we go, leaving the yard. It's been up there behind that Mack for 20 years. Let's see if we can get this home in one piece. After discovering all my wet clothes in the back of the trailer, I just went around to the motel I'd been staying at, the Bottle Brush Motel there at Capella, and saw Jono that had looked after me and Mackay, and I can't remember his name, it's a few years ago now, and old Clary Hayes that was next door, virtually next door. I went and saw him too. Dried all the clothes and fixed up the bill at the motel before heading off. It's a big hill. Back another one. Just keep on climbing. Come on, baby. I know from the past it's not the too many gears in. So we had a cattle truck. Look at that big row of cows up the hill. The Drummond rain. So, we're in third, direct. So about 1600 revs, 25 k's an hour. So actually just love a Mack. Feels like a train. Here comes someone down the hill. Temperatures about what, 70? So we can see down here. About 70. Anyway, I better concentrate. Kidding me. Alright, so we're nearly at the top now. Let's see the top of the hill. Let's have a look. Spin around a bit so we can see. That's sign set, but the camera's so useless, or my finger's too fat. Oh, hang on. 535 metres up here. We've climbed most of it in the last 10 minutes, or 5 minutes. Gotta love a Mack. I drove all the way down to Tambo that night and camped at Tambo. There's storms all the way down out west. I can see them slowly coming in, and they were just following me along all day, and I was pretty much out of the rain the whole day. I slept there that night at Tambo. Yes, I got down to Charleville about 10 in the morning. I went and had some breakfast and a shower and filled the truck up with fuel before heading off again for New South Wales. Here between Cunnamulla and Perth, heading towards the Queensland border.
So I kept on going until we got to Cobar, and we rolled into Cobar 7:30, 8 o'clock that night by the time we got there, and spent the night there. The next day, started early, headed south and had breakfast at Hillston. Mrs. Mack and I, the fabulous Fruhorse cattle cruiser, the Stecco float, and I think it's a lusty Dolly, I can't remember now. We're at Hillston, New South Wales. We've got about less than 400 kilometres to home. Everything has been going swimmingly. It's about 10:30 in the morning. Yes, it's going along. There's not as much adventure for me. Nothing goes wrong, but I sort of seem to have passed those days of wanting that much adventure, so I did a lot more work before I left. But everything's going really good. Bought some sandwiches for brekkie or brunch or smoko or whatever it is you want to call it, and sit down and have them in a cuppa, put the kettle on, and we'll take it from there.
Hey, around the Hay Plains. I don't know where I'm sitting right here. This is the flattest spot in the world. The only place in the world you can see the curvature of the earth somewhere. I reckon I've said it before, maybe it's loud. While standing on the face of the earth, sitting in Mrs. Mack. Hello, doggy. One of the things about the Hay Plains is it's so treeless. And there's such any buffet wind, you can't the truck, especially with a big high load like the one I've got on. First time I came across it, we only get about 60 k's an hour, 55, 60 k's an hour. We're doing about 80 because we're pretty light. Had a big high stop rate on though. It's a long hard grind these open country like this. You just keep on plugging away at it. That's all you can do.
I continued on south across the Hay Plains through Denny, down to Denny, down to Barra and back across to Unhooked. I put this photo up on Facebook, and that will lead to part 7 and other things. And I'll just about end this here because, well, really probably enough has been said. So hope you've all enjoyed it, and stay tuned for part 7 of the next, even less exciting but interesting, I find, adventures of, well, me.